Some wounds don't come from battle, they come from people you once believed were on your side. That's what I learned, not from a stranger, but from someone I once trusted. She and I were never the closest of friends, but we had shared enough moments to feel comfortable around each other. We laughed during breaks, shared lunch sometimes, and even covered for each other when deadlines piled up. I wouldn't have called her my best friend, but I believed we understood each other, or so I thought. The change came quietly, like a cold wind slipping through a closed window. One morning, I greeted her at work like I always did. She barely glanced my way. I brushed it off, thinking maybe she was just tired or distracted. But the next day was the same, cold stares, forced silence. No greetings, no small talk, nothing. I kept telling myself it wasn't personal. Maybe she's going through something, I reasoned. Soon, I noticed her whispering with others, quiet conversations that stopped the moment I entered the room. I'd catch her looking at me with narrowed eyes, her gaze filled with something that didn't feel right. Confusion turned to frustration. I replayed every conversation we'd ever had, wondering if I'd said something wrong. I searched for clues. Had I unknowingly hurt her feelings? Was this some misunderstanding? One afternoon, I walked up to her desk, determined to fix things. "Hey," I said softly, "have I done something to upset you?" She didn't even look up. "I have nothing to say to you." Her voice was sharp, cold enough to freeze the air between us. I stood there, stunned. No explanation, no reason, just anger that seemed to come out of nowhere. The following weeks turned into a quiet war, one I never asked to fight. My reports started disappearing. Documents I had spent hours preparing would turn up incomplete or missing altogether. I overheard her claiming credit for my ideas during meetings, speaking as if my hard work had been her own. At first, I was furious. I wanted to confront her, to demand answers. But I knew deep down that nothing I said would change her mind. She had built her anger like a wall, solid, cold, and impenetrable. The whispers followed me everywhere. People who once smiled now seemed distant. I'd enter the break room and conversations would stop. My name would hang in the air like smoke. I told myself to stay calm, to stay focused, but the weight of her bitterness made every day harder. There were moments I felt like giving up, moments where I questioned if I should even stay at my job. But then, one afternoon, I overheard something that gave me clarity. "She's just jealous," someone whispered. "Jealous?" another voice asked. "Yes," the first voice continued. "Ever since the boss started praising her, she's been bitter. She thinks she's been replaced." I stood frozen behind the door, my heart sinking. It all made sense now, the cold stares, the whispers, the sabotage. She wasn't angry because I had wronged her, she was angry because I was being noticed. Because my hard work was finally paying off. I should have felt relieved, but instead, I felt sad. Sad that someone who once stood beside me had turned me into her enemy, all because she couldn't celebrate someone else's growth. For a while, I was tempted to fight back, to show her that I wasn't weak, that I wasn't going to let her lies and bitterness destroy me. But then I realized something, her anger wasn't my burden to carry. Instead of confronting her, I made a different choice. I kept walking. I poured my energy into my tasks, showed kindness to those around me, and refused to let her whispers define me. Slowly, her influence started to fade. The same people who once turned away from me began to see the truth, not because I defended myself, but because I stayed consistent. Over time, her bitterness isolated her. People grew tired of her negativity. The same whispers she used to spread about me began to follow her instead. One evening, long after most of the staff had gone home, I found her sitting alone in the break room. Her shoulders were slumped, her eyes distant. For a moment, I hesitated. Then, quietly, I walked up to her. "Whatever it is you're carrying, I said softly, "You don't have to carry it alone." She didn't reply. She didn't even look up. But I knew she had heard me. The truth is, some people will hurt you, not because you deserve it, but because they are hurting themselves. I realized that her bitterness wasn't really about me, it was about her own fears, her own insecurities, her own struggles. And I learned something powerful: you can't control how others treat you, but you can control how you respond. Some battles aren't meant to be fought with anger or revenge. Sometimes, the greatest victory is choosing peace and refusing to let someone else's bitterness steal your joy. I carried that lesson with me long after our paths drifted apart. And to this day, I know one thing for sure: no matter how hard people try to dim your light, if you stay true to yourself, it will always shine through.